oh, I hate it. I think this is going to be a horrible opportunity for her.
He did not say that.
He did.
What? What is a business? Business is delivering some product or service for less money than it costs you to provide it.
If not, you lose money and it's a hobby.
There's the challenges of working with people. There's the importance of hiring the right people.
So he has a 12-step hiring process that is absolutely gold. Hey, good day, and welcome to The Consultant on the Coach. I'm here with my good friend Josh. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, we are in week 2 of EntreLeadership, dissecting Dave Ramsey's classic book, been around for over 10 years, and today is business application. And what I wanted to jump into, Proverbs chapter 10, verse 17 says, whoever heeds instruction is on the path to life, but he who rejects reproof leads others astray. And the reason why I chose that verse this morning is, it's about heeding instruction. What are great business practices for our business as we lead others, which is also why I absolutely love this book, and it continues to sell really well, even after 10 years. And it's because it's great instruction.
Yeah, it simplifies a lot of stuff. I really appreciate that. The more I've read it, the more I'm getting used to it.
So we started with the book overview last week, and then today it's all about business application, how it applies to my business, how it applies to your business, how we use it as we coach and consult with other businesses. So what's the first way this is the first time you've gone through the book, but you've been a consultant for a very long time. So there are overarching concepts. What sticks out to you?
Yeah, so I would summarize the book in 2 ways. I was actually thinking about it in the context of instructing my 10-year-old on how to start a business.
Ooh, this should be good.
Right. So as we're thinking about this, there's lots of ways to apply this book. I think I like. The reality is, there's 2 dimensions to this book, effectively, and 2 dimensions to business overall. There's effectively, what is a business, right? A business is delivering some product or service for less money than it costs you to provide it, right?
If not, you lose money and it's a hobby.
Exactly, yeah, as we've talked about, right? So it's a hobby, right, if you're losing money. And so I think there's 2 basic categories for this book, and really anyone trying to figure out how to launch a business if they haven't done it before. Right. There's what is your business, right? What are you about? Mission, vision, values. How do you manage your time? Setting goals. How do you make decisions? And then marketing and sales. Like that's business. You can do that as a person, as an individual. You are in business, right? And then the part that's hard, right? The part that sort of gets messy, as he talks about in the book quite a bit, but is also indispensable if you're going to build a business of size, scale, or substance, is people and administration.
Absolutely.
Everything else, right, is what comes with that, right? And so there's the challenges of working with people. There's the importance of hiring the right people. There's how do you build culture. There's how do you incentivize people. There's, how do you structure your finances. There's how do you do communication, build loyalty. I mean, there's all these things that have to happen if you want to build a business of size and scale, versus if you are a single shingle, which I am, there's actually even less complicated, right? There's like 4 or 5 chapters, that's all you need. But if you want to then build beyond yourself, because you have a significant opportunity that's, market-based product or services that you need more than a person to build, you need sort of the other half of the book, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's how I sort of broke it down.
And so today is about business application. I could, I wrote down 4 key chapters, but the first chapter I wanted to just touch on is he has this chapter called Hiring, Firing, and Personality Styles. And
you work on that a lot.
I use this all the time. Granted, I work with a lot of team members. And even last week, I'm in the process of hiring a 3rd bookkeeper for our business. I currently have 2, and I have bookkeepers in both the United States and in the Philippines. And so my U.S.-based bookkeeper decided to actually go into business for herself, which was awesome. It was one of those, hey, I'm excited for you. I need to hire a new bookkeeper. So she left on really good terms, and I now need to hire another U.S.-based bookkeeper. And where we're at is, I think I found someone through a referral. I let my current CPA know, hey, I need to hire another bookkeeper. He referred what looks to be a rock star for me. In the old days, before Dave Ramsey, I would have just hired after that first interview. We are now on this week, interview number 3. She wants to work for us. We want her to work for us as well. It's totally mutual. But because of his chapter on hiring, firing, and personality styles, we are very carefully drawing this thing out, not to the point where it's going to take months to get her hired, but definitely a few weeks, because I want to make sure we are a good fit, because it's, as you know, it's really expensive. If you hire the wrong person, not only do you have to pay them, you have to fix all their mistakes, and you've wasted all of that valuable time. So he has a 12-step hiring process that is absolutely gold.
Yeah. Are you going to take her and a spouse or a significant other out to dinner?
We used to do that.
Okay.
And for all of our executives that we hire, we have done that. All of our team leads that we've hired, we have done that. Team members, we don't usually use that extra step. If it's a big if it's a big position, yeah, we would. So, but we have done it before, and that's kind of a cool thing that we've done before. I remember I've had several people. We've brought their significant other or spouse, taken them out to dinner. And I've had not several. We've done it probably 100 times.
Oh, wow. That's
There's
a lot.
been 2 that we did not hire based on their spouse.
Ooh,
but it wasn't because we disqualified them.
Right.
It was one of those, we wanted to hire this manager, and we were going to hire her. And I'm like, well, I asked her boyfriend, I'm like, so what do you think about so-and-so come to work for us? Oh, I hate it. I think this is going to be a horrible opportunity for her.
He did not say that.
He did.
What?
And I'm just kind of going, this is really awkward.
Hold on. Okay, let's back up. I want to hear more about this. Okay. So you went out to dinner.
We went out to dinner.
Where?
It was a local coffee shop. So we don't always go out to dinner. But
Got it.
We're at a coffee shop.
Sure. And this is you and your wife?
It was me and the owner of our company.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I always bring someone else along.
That's what I was asking. Yep. Okay.
And I just said, hey, we'd like to hire your girlfriend.
Right.
Hey, what do you think about that? Oh, she needs to be at the home. I told her she does not need to go get a job. Oh. And then they start arguing.
Well, I bet they did.
And she's like,
That's
I should be able to work. And and I'm going,
oh, boy.
So the very next day I call her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so that was awkward. She goes, yeah, that was really awkward. And I said, you know what? Until you guys are on the same page, why don't you reach out to me when you're ready to work for us? Because that was really awkward. But how wonderful that we had that conversation before we hired her, trained her as a manager, realizing she could have worked for us for 3 to 6 months. And that's a train wreck waiting to happen.
Well, especially if she's in conflict every day she goes home about going to work for you, right?
Absolutely.
Not your fault, right? But yeah, that's huge. I mean, I liked how we put it in the book, right? It's hard to manage someone who's managing crazy.
Yeah. Right? And if I were to ever go interview somewhere else and they invite my wife and I, we are on the same page before we
better have a conversation before you get there.
Hey, what are our goals? What's our mission? What's our vision? I'm not going to get into people's personal life, but if their personal life is not in order, it blows over to one's business life.
Yeah.
Business is too hard. Let's figure that out ahead of time.
Business is hard enough by itself. Yeah.
Hey, the bridge is out. Let's take a different route before going down there.
What's the second one you had too?
Oh, it was along the same thing. Yeah, you caught me off guard with that one. I was thinking of that one. That was the first one. That was really easy.
Yeah. That's great.
So anyway,
and not a great outcome for her, but in terms of, it just speaks to the value of that step. I have to believe. I don't know if you've gotten any feedback, but I would have to believe if you were one of the other 98 and got hired, that also speaks volumes to sort of how much you care.
Oh, it does.
Right? You're just trying to build things to start on the right foot. And I've never done this, but I would assume if I had a boss who invited me, a prospective boss, inviting me out, my wife, to have dinner or something. I've also heard of I can't remember who the CEO was, but there's someone who's known to take people out on a sailboat. Right? Like he's a big sailing guy, right? And he sort of likes to put people in a place of discomfort to see how they respond, right? Because most people are not expert sailors. Similar idea, though. You sort of put them in a place where it's a little bit different than typical interview and figure out more about them.
Well, and the nice thing is if you spend enough time around them, eventually they take down their interview garb. Because you go into an interview, you're wearing your Sunday best, you're very calculated, and Ramsey's talked about the reason why he likes taking people out to dinner is eventually they take down their garb, and that's who you're truly going to be working with.
Right.
And when people take down their garb, you're either going to say, I really like this person, or I don't like this person.
Yeah.
And that's when you hire them, because that is the person, that, they're going to be great, they're going to be great. Like, they complain all the time. And that's the nice thing about going out to dinner with someone, lunch, even coffee.
Yeah.
Lunch is better. What are their manners like? You find a lot of little things like that.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite person you take with you who sort of gets as his wife gets the feeling?
Oh, well, the best is always
a lot, which I appreciate.
The best is always my wife.
Okay.
But if not my wife, I like to take our owner. He's so doggone busy. Our new COO is sharp as nails, and he's really good at reading personality. So there's a lot of different, so I love the chapter, hiring, firing, and personality styles. He even talks into how do you fire someone. A lot of people, we need to fire people from time to time, but how do you do it? When do you do it? Vitally important.
Yeah.
So when you think of business application for consulting, what stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got a good answer to this one yet in terms of the output, but I was thinking a lot about, I appreciated the way he broke down marketing in a fairly simple way. Because I have a lot of people ask me like, how do you get your work? And I always sort of don't have a very good answer for that. I know I need to have a better funnel. I appreciated that he had a really clear sort of method, sort of this stair step, right? From the listen to his radio show, buy the book, right? Sign up for an EntreLeadership class, so on and so on and so on, right?
Yeah. He understands the sales funnel.
He understands that funnel. And I think that's what's interesting about consulting is there's not a really great, and this is sort of an ask to anyone who hears this and wants to send me ideas, I'd be happy to take them. There's not a great middle step for consulting. Like I can do this, right? And I can, I certainly take phone calls all the time. I have startup entrepreneurs and other people who call me pretty frequently for advice, especially industry advice around healthcare and how to do digital health and things like that. And that happens pretty frequently. 30 minutes, no big deal. Like, okay, happy to give you a little advice. But then what's between that and like a significant engagement? Like there's sort of a gap there, right? And I don't quite know how to solve that.
And we've even struggled with that, understanding the sales funnel. And for everyone needs to know their sales funnel.
Right.
So for us,
it's actually not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, for us, our first sales funnel is, hey, listen to our podcast. And you get to kind of, okay, how does Erik coach? How does Josh consult? And then there's the intro phone call. You take the 30-minute phone call, the 60-minute phone call, whatever that is. But it's between that and then you have your statement of work. What does that look like?
Right, and usually that's pretty significant. And so the hard part is what's that next step?
Yeah, and it's hard to get people from that. Maybe we need to write a book next, or have what would that look like?
Yeah, a book or an assessment, or I was pondering, could we do just a 1-hour assessment deep dive call with the two of us, right? From both a coaching and a consulting perspective, one-on-one, basically, for 1 hour, and let people,
that's a really good
vent their problems to us, and it costs $249 for an hour because they get both of us for an hour, and we go as deep as they'd like to go for an hour, right?
Any question, hey,
any topic.
Our brains. Yep. But like everything else, then you kind of figure out what does that look like. So what, the sales funnel for like home medical supplies, which is where I'm at. My main job is I do have that middle ground where someone's like, hey, I need to buy some bath safety, or I need to buy a small cash-based item for $20 to $100. So that's the nice thing with some retail, you can slowly get into it before, like in my main field, you drop $20,000 on a high-end power wheelchair. There's a lot of different aspects of what that looks like. The advantage with group coaching is it kind of allows for that middle thing. I love coaching groups because you don't have to pay one-on-one. You can jump into a mastermind group with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. So it's not like you have this huge financial investment.
Right.
And that's an option as well too. So coming back to sales funnel, I love what he's talking about marketing. He gets it.
Yeah.
And it's worked with our company. So not only did I listen to the EntreLeadership podcast, I've now gone out to several events in Nashville, and even right now, even though I feel I've learned enough of that, we still drop well over $3,000 a year on his material as a benefit to our employees. We use the Smart Dollar program. Every employee and team member of our company has access to all of his financial planning stuff. So for him, that would be his passive income. But for us, it's a benefit for our team members.
Yeah. No.
And now that jumps into another chapter. I just love this. Compensation plans that fire people up.
Yeah.
Oh, that was top dollar. If you don't know how to pay people, that chapter alone is worth the book. And the reason why is different compensation plans fire different people up. Some people want 100% commission. Some people want lots of job security. You're going to pay them hourly. Some people have to have health insurance. He gets into, there's like 10 different ways to pay people.
Right.
So what do you think about that chapter?
Yeah, I like it in terms of just how you structure it. But I think that, back to my initial sort of how I divide the two, as a strategist, I sort of get fired up about the fact that those comp plans, you can't write those until you've done a good goal setting session.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? If you don't know what you're about as a company, you don't know what your values and your goals are. I talk about that. And if you haven't figured out, where you're headed, what you're trying to do in a quantifiable, attainable, achievable, sort of clearly articulated and transparently able to be measured way, right? You can't do a good comp plan, right? And then there's obviously the need to flex the comp plan to the personality. But I think that they go hand in hand. You can't start with the comp plan. You still have to start with who you are as a company. So that was, yes, I like it. And I also, as the strategist, get fired up about sort of what forms the business, right, underneath it. So,
and the fascinating thing about comp plans, I'd love to talk to, I've had to take his comp plan and continually change it because comp plans change in different economies as well too. Some people, it's all about the hourly rate. Other people, it's about the bonuses. Well, what happens if I had a star salesperson a number of years ago and the bottom fell out of our business, not to the point where we were unprofitable, but what happened was what Medicare was paying us significantly dropped, and she expected her commission to not change. I'm like, well, we're getting paid way less for what you were selling, so I had to change her comp plan. Unfortunately, she spun out of our business, and we're still good friends, but at the same time, she had to move industries. So it's also hard. What comp plan works in 2022 might and probably will slightly change in 2023. 2024, how does your business shift? That's something to consider as well too. Absolutely.
Well, the other piece, and I know it's a touchy subject because of the HR issues, but you also have to some degree talk to, I think, the individual about, this is where it gets into the personal goals, and we'll talk about life application in the next one, but I think in particular, there's a recognition that if there's a spouse or significant other who's earning income, what's the nature of that income?
Yeah.
Right? And so, for example, my wife, this was interesting, it turned it on its head for us as a family during COVID, which was, as a consultant, it was always sort of, the more work I do, the more I get paid. And so very much the stock, right? And she sort of had the very predictable 2-day a week, great fit for our family at the clinic, 2 days in, 2 days, every week, just like a metronome, right? And good sort of bond income, right? Very predictable. Well, who would have thought during COVID that one of the things you'd actually shut down would be a primary care clinic? And all of a sudden she was down to 0 or 1 day a week at different times, right? And so it was crazy. We're like, wait a second, what happened? Like what we thought was our most predictable income
was now
actually became unpredictable. And it's really threw us for, a loop, and wasn't anything I was going to do to change my current income stream. It's one reason why I save a lot of money, because you've got
you
a
never
lot
know
of
what's going to
cushion
happen.
for what's going to happen. But that's another podcast. But I think it is important to understand that as you're forming those compensation plans, first and foremost, structure them to the company's needs. But then I think people will respond well if you form it both to their personality, but then sort of their family, right? Because the other half or other part or other place of either income or their expenses may dictate what's most meaningful to them. Yeah.
And my last part with this book that I love, and my business application for this book, is in every business, there's a vernacular associated with the business. And if you've ever talked to someone in an industry, there are just certain words. And what I love about this book, so we teach through EntreLeadership with all of our leaders, and we've done so for almost 10 years now. this has become our business's vernacular. And the key is, whatever your business is, what is the vernacular you use to talk to your leaders about? So for example, when we say, hey, so-and-so, we need to pull back on the rope. Well, that's a chapter in EntreLeadership. How do you take care of your team members? Do you let the rope out or do you pull it back? And so the thing I love about Ramsey is he just makes things so simple. It makes it easy to teach to your team. And whether you use EntreLeadership or another book, think of what's the vernacular we use. If you have an employee who's doing a great job or you need to write them up, what vernacular are we using to communicate with our people in our business?
That's great.
So anyway, so next week, we're going to wrap up EntreLeadership, and it's life application. So we've done, book review, business application, life application next week, which I think is even just as beneficial as business application. They go side by side.
Absolutely.
And as we talked about the sales funnel this week, hey, if you have questions about consulting, give Josh a phone call. He would absolutely love to talk to you. Reach out to us at theconsultant@thecoach.com, or just send us a message. Or, we had someone last week, just shooting a quick question on our YouTube channel. We take a look at those. If they're insightful, we'll respond to them. So anyway, until next week, keep taking great care of your team, and we look forward to finishing up EntreLeadership.
Take care.